Coach, I do know, I actually learned this kind of late about you. You from Beggs, right?
Beggs America?
Yeah, Beggs America. Like, so one of your relatives ended up playing ball for me during my Muskogee era, Michaela McCall.
Yeah,
and
the twins,
oh
yeah.
my goodness. And she, as soon as I said your name as a part of my past, she was like, that's my cousin. And I was like, man.
Me and her real cousin. Me and her mom are first cousins. Her grandmother and my dad are brothers and sisters.
See, it don't get much closer.
Yeah, it's close. So it ain't no fake cousins, real cousins.
And you know, we'll claim fake cousins in a minute.
In a minute, that's what we do.
That's a beautiful thing. But how was growing up in Beggs America back in your day, man? What was that like, that beginning?
You know, looking back as you get older, it was really unbelievable. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, I had to, and I look at, I've been really fortunate and blessed, and I think a lot of my, you know, things I've been able to accomplish and things I've been able to do is direct credit to Beggs. You know, I had so much support there, small school. I graduated with 42. From an athletic standpoint, it was really good. We were freshmen. I always, you know, tease Bryce and everybody else. I won 3 state championships. Make sure you get that.
Yeah, 3. Now, were they, at least 2 of those were back-to-back.
2 of those was back-to-back. So I won my freshman year. We got beat my sophomore year, and I won my junior and senior year. But
finished strong.
Yeah, and so from an athletic standpoint, it was really good, AD, just because the group that we had that were seniors when we were freshmen were really good. So it was, you know, Pooh Williamson, that's assistant at OU now, Donald Carter, who's a great player, Junior Whitaker, guy Sean Copeland. I mean, we had a group, but the thing that we really did, not just challenge ourselves athletically, I mean, those guys are really smart guys, and so they challenged us academically too. And so we had a group that was, you know, before us, that we kind of had example. They had won a state championship. They had done it. Then we had to park at Beggs. So, you know, you had guys like Greg Cullum, Craig Reed, all these guys, these older guys that we constantly on a Sunday, every day we were at the park. And so a lot of these things that we were able to do and able to learn, you know, I was in FFA, you know, so I learned how to speak and talk, all these things that now I look back on and I attribute, you know, to Beggs. So it was really fun, really competitive. I mean, really raised by everybody, and it's you know, I'm forever Beggs, man. 267.
He said 267. But you know, I'm gonna tell you what's a beautiful thing, because I'm from Tulsa, as you know, so you know, a little bit bigger than Beggs.
Yeah.
But from that village standpoint that you just spoke about, it's the same thing. I can remember as a kid, a lot of times I'd be out doing whatever, and I would see some people that I would look at as a stranger, but I didn't know they knew me.
They know,
So I had eyes on me at all times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was getting policed by everybody.
Everybody, yeah. I mean, like you know, you hear all the time, boy, I knew you before you knew yourself.
Exactly.
You know, and you think just running around. You know, quick story about Beggs. You know, it's so funny when I was a junior at the University of Tulsa, we ended up playing in a preseason IT, and we won, and so we made it to Madison Square Garden. So we were the Final Four team that got to play at Madison Square Garden. Unbelievable place to play. But and so we have a dinner, you know, before all of the, you know, before the game start, you have a big dinner the night before. So everybody there is us, Duke, Indiana, I think Evansville. And so we played Duke. But we're all sitting around talking, and, you know, different players kind of mingling together, and, you know, Shay, different guys from different teams, we knew each other, and so they were like, man, where you from? You know, and I'm like, I'm from Beggs. And
you didn't even say Oklahoma.
Somebody said, man, just say you Tulsa, man. They don't know where Beggs is. They don't know where Beggs is. And I said, yeah, I'm from Beggs. I said, it's a little town outside of Tulsa. And the dude was like, man, I bet you probably got chickens and horses, you know, all in your front yard. I said, nah, we keep them in the back. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, you know, just being Beggs, and like you said, being around and seeing people that, you know, it's so many different people that you don't realize that can impact you, you know, and just kind of put parameters around you. You know, you want to try to do well and do the right thing because of the people around you who influence you, and you don't want to let down. So definitely.
That's a big thing right there, and you never grow out of that. It's like even now, even as an adult, it's nice to have people that can check me if I
no doubt, and that will check you. You know, makes a big difference,
and I'll receive it.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna fight back.
Yeah.
Now, from an athletic standpoint, when did you know that, man, I'm pretty good at this right here?
You know, funny deal. I say this. I always wanted to go to the University of Tulsa.
Really?
Because they came and did a camp. Well, they can't do it now because it would be illegal now with the rule changes. But they came and did a camp when I was like in the 7th grade at Beggs. and did a camp, and they came in the gym. And matter of fact, I think Coach West was on the team.
Oh, Jamal?
Yeah. So they came down and did a camp. And, as I got older, I realized they let me win, but I won like a shooting competition. And from that point, I wanted to, I always wanted to go to Tulsa. I always wanted to go to Tulsa. And so I would say, probably my, I will never forget coming to Tulsa and playing AAU for the first time. And I was like, I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, Leon Wilson, Marshall Gordon, all those guys, and they were big. And Leon was like dunking in the 7th, 8th grade. Then you had big Odell Stokes. And so I'm like, golly. And I'll never forget that. And I went back and continued to get better and improve. So probably like my 9th grade year, I was able to play as a freshman and had a big game in the state championship game. Then that summer going in there, being able to play with those guys and kind of hold my own. And then I just started figuring like, man, you may have a chance to be able to go play. I always wanted to do it, but then when that light clicks on and understanding, where you are, I think that was probably about my 8th, 9th grade year, I feel like I had a chance to go play.
I'm always interested in the answer to that question when I ask people that, because, I'm pretty sure you've heard this in your lifetime too. A lot of people always say, you got to know your limitations. And I'm like, okay, if that's true, there's another side of that too. Yeah. You got to know how good you are. Yeah. At some point.
I think the difference is this, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little later, so I won't go too much, but just with working with kids now, I say this all the time. Parents and players have a hard time now discerning hate from honesty.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
They do. Because if I tell you, Aaron, if I say to you, based on all my experience and seeing all these players for 20 plus years and seeing players all over the country, if I say, Aaron, you're D2. Oh, man, Rod, hate, man.
Rod tripping, man.
Hate, man. And the deal is, if I can get you to understand that that's where you are now, I can work with you and we have a better chance of getting you to where you want to go. So this is your level based on this, based on these things. And I always use Bryce as an example. And I think this is a great example. Bryce was going his sophomore year, going after his sophomore summer. One of his goals was to make Steph Curry camp. Well, he didn't make it. Okay, he didn't make it. 4 other guys in the 2020 class made it. Pretty good guys. Anthony Edwards, who's probably going to be a number 1 pick. R.J. Hampton, who's also in the draft right now. Nico Mannion, who's probably going to be in the draft right now. All those guys, those are the guys that they selected out of that younger class, right? The difference was this. People, oh, man, you need to call up there. They hating on Bryce. Man, they hating. And I sit in the car. Bryce is disappointed. And I said, those guys are better than you right now. And this is why. So nobody's hating on you. Nobody's sleeping on you. Nobody is knocked out and missed their alarm clock sleeping on you. These guys are better than you right now, and this is why. So you know what we do? Okay, I know the why. You got to know the why. Okay, so now we go back, and we going to bust our tail. We going to work. You got to improve this, this, and this. Let's look at this. The next year he's invited there. He's invited to USA Basketball. That's why I say it's important how you receive information.
That's true.
So now people have heard me in the car the whole time saying, well, man, they just hate, man. They should have invited you. Man, you need to be there. What? It ain't no work now. There's no work.
You're right, Dad. You're right.
Yeah. There's no work. And so now the satisfaction of, okay, I didn't make it that time. Let's go back and work. We understand why you weren't selected. We got to improve on that and we got to get better. And then the satisfaction and the joy of the fruits of your labor are the next year you make that and you go to USA Basketball and you go to all these things. But I'm telling you, if that information is not received right, it's not a death sentence. And people think it's a death sentence.
Right. You didn't put a ceiling on it.
No.
You didn't say this is as good as you can be.
Yeah. I said this is where you are right now according to this, and this.
Right. That's the criteria.
And I think that's the biggest part as a coach, trainer. That's the hardest part for me, that you see a young kid, 9th, 10th grade, and you tell them that, and they don't receive that. They quit working and they have a chip on their shoulder, but not a chip in the right way. And then when you get to the finish line, all those opportunities are gone. Because, Coach AD hating on me, man. He told me I wasn't, man. I know I'm better than him. Man, I had 24 points against Ricky across town. It don't work like that.
It does not.
and that's the part that I think the education side is not just for the kids, it's for the parents also. Mm-hmm. And I think, Aaron, that's the part where I think a lot of times we miss it. I mean, look at you right now.
Right.
You wasn't a Division I basketball player.
No, I wasn't.
The part that I will always say about you, I think you understood that early. Now, that didn't mean you didn't quit working. You kept pushing yourself. You kept trying to maximize your talent and ability. And let's think about the guys around your age right now, that will love that hey, may have been the guy, that would love to trade places with AD right now. But AD was able to identify early who he was, but that didn't mean he quit working. That didn't mean he didn't lose the love for the game. He still was going to show up early and shoot every time and put that time in order to get better. Right. And so when you look at those things, I always say, you want to be a 5-star after you're done playing. It's going to be peaks and valleys and hills and lows, but you were able to identify who you are. I say this all the time. People struggle in relationships. They struggle with jobs. They struggle with so many things, Aaron, because they don't know who they are. Yeah. Same thing as a player. You got to know who you are. If that's what you do, that's what you do, and you improve and get better. Mm-hmm. And I think those are the things that I think sometimes we miss, but to tie it back in, I think I was able to identify early who I was as a player and be able to capitalize on that and continue to get better. So it was earlier that I think I understood that maybe I had a shot to go and be able to play.
Man, first of all, I got to thank you for the props you threw at me. Cause I like to think I tried to figure out where I was pretty early on. So then from that point on, it's like, okay, now that I know this is where I'm at, every move from this point on serves a purpose. There's nothing random. I sort of know what I'm doing.
And the difference is, Aaron, you think about the teams. I mean, I was fortunate enough to coach you, but you don't have the success if you don't have an Aaron Daniels. And I think that's what's lost in it is because kids may not be that high-level guy. Sometimes they feel like their value is not the same.
Right.
You don't win. You got to have everybody out there, to be able to do it. And I do think that you understand that early, but I think that's where we are, right now in our times when we talk about basketball. I think that makes a big difference.
Now, and you touched on it. Since you took me there, we got to go there. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I've been sort of fascinated by, watching you sort of toe the line between coach and dad, because you were doing them both at the same time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the notoriety that Bryce Thompson had when he was 17. When I was 17, how do you keep a kid's feet on the ground during all that publicity, all that hoopla? Everybody's telling them this, that, and the other, and I'm pretty sure he knew at some point, I'm pretty good at this. Like, how do you keep him grounded?
I think it takes a group effort, and I think you have to start early. Mm-hmm. The one thing about Bryce, and I think it's, and you know this as a player, there's so much pressure that you deal with. It's such a weight that comes with that. Mm-hmm. Bryce has been told every day that basketball does not define you.
Right.
You don't have to play because dad played. Now, break my heart if he didn't.
Yeah, that's right.
But you don't have to play because I played. And I get people like, man, he just looked like he enjoys himself. Yeah, because it's no pressure.
Right.
Listen, you're gonna be great without this ball.
And you're going to love him regardless.
You're going to have value without this basketball. Understand this. It's not who you are. It's what you do right now. And I think learning these processes and getting an understanding about that early. Like I tell parents all the time, I told a parent the other day, you would never work in the environment that you put your son in as far as basketball. So if you had a boss that was constantly yelling at you, putting pressure on you all the time, you would be calling me, asking me if I know somebody to get you a job.
That's a great point. I never thought about it like that.
Think about it.
That's a role reversal for real.
But this is what we don't do. We don't treat basketball and the athletic side the same way we do the real world. We don't. So I'll give you an example. Mm-hmm. I played a little football at Beggs.
Didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little. Was quarterback for a minute.
1 year,
went
2 years?
all the way up to my 9th grade, and I stopped playing.
All right.
So I've been around the game. I've commentated college football games. I've coached great football players. I've been doing football on TV for 20-something years, right? When Bryce wanted to be quarterback, I can throw a football. He went to Paul Smith to train. I knew Paul Smith could give him something that I couldn't. Now, you know what I could have said? Paul Smith down there. Man, I was quarterback at Biggs. Man, I know how to throw this ball.
I got the answers.
And I think that in the real world, we wouldn't do that. If AD is a doctor and I want to become a doctor, what I do? I go and learn from AD.
That's right.
AD got to show me how to do this. But we think because, maybe I walked in, I wear scrubs every day, but I'm not a doctor. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you take that approach and you can have that, so I think with Bryce, having him understand that early, that this is a gift, you work hard at it, you can benefit from it, but it's not who you are. What do you do besides this? What do you bring? How do you give? Right. And the more he understands that, the less the weight is. Right. He don't feel like he's a failure if he doesn't make it. Now, he may feel like that now, but he knows that he still has value. Mm-hmm. I think that's what happens, and we wonder where our youth is, that you have a kid that's good all the way through elementary, all the way through middle school. Now everybody else gets better, and all of a sudden this kid is struggling in school. Mm-hmm. He's struggling with all. Well, everybody. He had 20 people calling him on him to play on his team. It's intoxicating. Yeah. And I tell you, with parents, it's intoxicating when schools are after your kid, and it's all on the internet, and then all of a sudden all of that is gone. So for all your life, you feel like this has been your only value. Yeah. Who are you now?
Your whole identity was wrapped up in that.
And so now you have kids that struggle because that's all their identity is. I always tell parents all the time, listen, find something else that he likes to do, that he can identify with. Mm-hmm. Because no matter what it is, it's going to change. So just with Bryce, I think the humility side and with Bryce also is understanding that they're going to be highs and lows, mm-hmm. and trying to stay even keel. I think this is, and I don't want to get goosebumps to tear up about it, but I think this is a prime example, Aaron. And we have a documentary we've been working on, forever. And the key is, I've had all these people ask me, call me, because they know I coach, they know I train. I always tell them, I said, I know I'm the best trainer around.
There you go.
I know I'm the best. They'd be like, why? I said, because one, I've been doing it long enough that I built players. Right. So taking them from young and taking them up and building them. Mm-hmm. I said, but two, my unique perspective is that I know how parents feel because I've had a son that's went through it. Mm-hmm. So it's a different emotion when you're dealing with your own kid through the process. Right. So I can give you some nuggets that maybe somebody else can't because mm-hmm. I've been through this. Okay, hold off on this, wait on this, go and do this. But the humility side is always understanding the highs and the lows. And it's hard now because I always say this, think about this. You take a player that's from another state. Say you take a player that's from New York or California. Right. Young kids, even adults. All they look at is highlights. You never seen anybody miss a shot on a mixtape.
For what?
You've never seen that. Right. So automatically they come and they watch. I'm gonna just use you. They watch Aaron play, and Aaron's one of the best players here in Oklahoma. They come watch Aaron play, and Aaron has a bad game. Well, automatically they think because Aaron had this bad game, the kid from California, the kid from New York is so much better. Yeah. Why? And because you've never seen him miss a shot.
True that.
You know what I'm saying? So I was telling him, I said, so I'll never forget this. Bryce was a freshman. Okay, he was a freshman year.
I remember his freshman year.
He had Booger T. Right. All right, he's doing well. I think he was averaging 12, 14 points a game, doing well. And this is going back to the humility side. So first round of the tournament, I think they may have beat Westmore or one of the more schools. He has 14 points. The next game, they're playing Union, who was 25 in the country. All right, had Ethan Shaguar, Adrian Rodriguez. Unbelievable. They were the favorite to win it. No doubt about it. Right. Bryce has another good game. He has 12, 14 points. Gets to the finals. He has 0 points. 0.
Goose egg.
All right. Terry Evans, unbelievable coach. Norman North. Okay, Bryce got his little frail tail out there. Put Marvin Johnson on him, who's probably the best defender in the state. Unbelievable player. I think he's at Eastern Illinois, one of the schools he's playing Division I basketball now. Unbelievable player, tough, strong, aggressive. And Terry just gets up under him,
3 years older too, by the way.
Yep, 3, 4 years old. Pushes him off the line. Okay, he's had a couple of good games. The last game of the season, okay, has 0 points. The next day in the paper, okay, because you know how we do. Mm-hmm. All right, so he's crying the whole night.
Yeah,
I'm probably crying more than he is, to be honest.
That's right. That's the dad coming
Yeah,
out.
that's that. So last game of the season, you don't have another game that you can go and play. This is the last game, so he has 0 points. How good is he? Really this good? All this kind of stuff. So the next day we get up, and I said, let's go. And he's like, where are we going? I said, let's go get the newspaper.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at that paper. Well, you want to look at it when you have 20.
That's right.
The last 2 nights before, hey, let's go get the newspaper. Let's go get some donuts. Let's go do it. Okay, go look at it. We go get the newspaper. Right. And this is what I'm talking about, teaching character. Mm-hmm. And understanding that in this, it's a roller coaster. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. Mm-hmm. Just stay on the ride. So we get up the next day. Okay, we go to the Quick Trip, get the paper. Come home. He don't want to look at it. Okay, pull it out, do what we do. And AD, the picture is a picture of his teammates standing up after they got beat, and Bryce, as a freshman, has his hand in his head, crying, sitting down. That was a picture.
Man.
As a freshman. So
he's the only one out on his feet, right?
Only one out on his feet. Boo-hooing.
Right.
Scored 0 points. Freshman pretty good. 0 points. Everybody watching. Mm-hmm. Look at the newspaper, has a box score, 0 for 9, 0 for 9, 0 for 6 from 3. Made him read it. All right, he crying the whole time.
Yeah.
All these questions, oh, man, am I really this good? All this kind of stuff, really this good? Now, it's hurt me, but I know I'm teaching character.
Right.
I know right here.
It's a big moment.
I'm ready to jump off the roller coaster just for him, you know. Hey, God, what are you doing, man? We spent all this time. Why would you do a thing like this? But I know I'm teaching character. Mm-hmm. So I look up and he takes the paper, like he do. He takes it upstairs. I get up the next day. I go upstairs, and when I go upstairs, it's hung up on his wall. He's hung it up there. If you go to my house right now, it's still hung up there. Still hung up there. Okay? A couple days went by. Start going back to work. And what I realized in those couple days, I said, it worked. Now, it was hard going through that.
Right.
I say this to say, and this is what gives me goosebumps, and this is what I say to every, you know this, it is a grind, nonstop. I tell parents, stay on the roller coaster. Hey, one weekend, boy, you think that boy ready for the NBA. The next weekend be like, boy, why am I spending all this money running around? You better get your grades and get your books. You don't need to, you know.
Oh, man.
And so there was a kid, and I won't say his name, a young kid, he was struggling. And he was really questioning if he was good enough. Mm-hmm. Am I really, man, I'm playing on this team, played a horrible tournament. And kids are different than we are. Even in your area, Aaron, it's in your face. They look at it every day. If me and Aaron are competing for a scholarship, if Aaron has a good game and I don't have a good game, I pick up the phone and it's in my face every day.
Yeah, so now I've made it me versus you.
No doubt, no doubt. And these are the things that they deal with. They look at it. Kids, like his kids right now that don't feel like they're validated as a player because they don't have an offer. This is the era that we're living in. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, offers is being gotten by some kids. They're not even, you got to understand the stuff to go about it, and we can get on that. But back to the story. So it's hung up on his wall. Mm-hmm. Dad called me, and I won't say his name, and he's a pretty player, had his kid, going to be a good player. And the kid was struggling. He went and played in the tournament. He was wondering if he was pretty good. And a lot of reason the kid was struggling is because he's a young kid, but there's an expectation because his dad is around players and coaches players and at a high level. So they see him all the time. And he in the gym with him, man, you got to be good, blah, blah, blah. And so he was struggling because he didn't have a good game. And they know that everybody is glued to their phone to look. And I sent this video, and it's going to be like in the documentary deal, but I sent this video, man. And as a parent, I always get accused of being, I don't know why Rod talked to them, man. They don't like him. Yeah, but I just have a heart for kids, you know. And so, but as a parent, I've been there, so I understand that. I took a picture, I took a video and I'll send it to you. I took a video of Bryce, 0 points, state championship game, everybody watching, he crying in the Tulsa world. I showed the box score 0 points. And I said, look, when you question if you're really good, and there's gonna be highs and there's gonna be lows, all these kids sees are the highs because all they look at is their phone.
Right.
And I panned from that low, Aaron, that low, that hard work all that time, and I panned from my wall, and I panned to his dresser. And his dresser, McDonald's All-American ring.
Yeah.
2-time Gatorade Player of the Year. NBA top 100, top 5 performer. USA basketball plaque. Frontier Conference 2-time Player of the Year. Blah, 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 blah. But I totally believe he would have never got to that if he didn't experience this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that tough time, if we would have quit, do you think that I thought we thought that this was all attainable after going through that? No.
No, not especially not immediately.
No, you don't think of that.
No.
But the key was the time in between that and that.
Yeah.
Time in between the 0 points to the accolades, the time in between, which makes a big difference. And that's why I say stay on that roller coaster. I mean, like right now, Bryce can't. He gon', he'll hit freshman, he'll have games up and down. But listen, he will always revert back to that.
Mm-hmm. If he ever starts to get a little shaky.
Oh, he will always revert. I don't have to worry about him going back and getting in the gym and doing, because he's experienced that. But he had somebody here to be like, okay, no. You take the bitter with the sweet.
Absolutely.
You're going to get up, you're going to go get this newspaper, you're going to put your chin up,
mm-hmm.
and you're going to take it, and you're going to work. And I think with that comes a humility standpoint. Now, I will say I got an advantage because I've been around players all my life.
Right.
So I've seen, kind of what to do, not to do. I just didn't fall out of the sky. I've been doing it for a long time.
That's true.
So it is an advantage in understanding that. But I think that's the part of keeping him humble and keeping the humility side of continue to work and continue to push yourself, because he had those things and there was never excuse made. Never excuse made. I mean, like I tell people, and it's so funny to go through it with your own kid. Like people would say something, oh man, he got to work on this. And they really thought they were getting at me, or really like, quote unquote, saying something negative. You know what they were doing? They were telling the truth.
True, yeah.
They were telling the truth.
Yeah, and we thank you. We can go do that.
Yes, they were telling the truth. You're, oh man, you don't. No, they were telling the truth. Mm-hmm. This is what you have to work on. You have to get stronger. Yeah, all you can do is shoot the ball now. That's all you did. That's all he could do. That's all he could do. He wasn't strong enough. He couldn't move. He was getting his tail knocked down and falling down every time.
Right.
But we was gonna work.
And you knew that.
Now you can't bump him off. Mm-hmm. Now we're going, you still can shoot. So I think these are the things that I always say, Aaron, just being able to go through it, not just as a trainer, but also as a parent, mm-hmm. because there is a different emotion. There is things that you want to deal with. But I think those are the things that I think that has allowed Bryce to continue to really be humble. And it makes a big difference, and it gives you a better shot. And it's very attractive. It's attractive to schools. It's attractive to scouts. It's attractive because that workman-like mentality, because there are going to be highs and lows. Mm-hmm. But people don't feel like there is, because all you see on the phone, the videos, are the highs.
Yeah.
That's why I always like to bring younger kids in. When I work kids out,
oh yeah.
If it's Shake Milton, I like to bring younger kids in to work with them. Why? So they can see what? They miss shots too. They don't make every shot. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we have this concept that guess what? They never miss a shot.
They're so perfect.
They're so. And once kids can understand that, you kind of see the light bulb go on. Okay, man, I had a bad game. Okay, well, let's get back and let's try it again. Because the world that we live in, we don't often see it, because most of the time we just watch highlights. We just watch. That's what parents and kids do.
And what's so crazy, whatever emotion you're feeling at that time, whether it's one of those lows you talk about or if it's the high, we always feel like, yo, this feeling is gonna last
Yeah.
forever. We're never gonna transition to another season. But I'm glad you shared that whole story, because even throughout the publicity and the hoopla that surrounded Bryce, which was well deserved, you never lost sight of the fact that he's just a teenage kid.
That's it.
So in life, there's really not much difference between him and the next guy who doesn't play ball.
No different.
The same thing. I mean,
no different.
Pretty sure you still got to get after him about being lazy.
Yeah, clean your room, get your room clean.
Yeah, all that. You ain't going.
Boy, if I tell you one more time,
all that.
Yeah,
man. But now the last thing I want to throw at you on that. How when did the chase, right, or during the recruitment process for Bryce, when did it go from fascinating and humbling to just flat out exhausting, or did it ever get to that point?
It did.
It did.
And I think I always tell people it's like if you hear guys, Richard Dumas, I just saw an interview that he did, right? And you always hear guys, and I've had people in my family, that's been on drugs, and they say, you're always chasing that first high.
Yeah.
And I always say, when you start this process, and I say, continue to stay humble, because, it changes. So you get an offer from a school that may not be high level, okay? Now you want this high level one, and your mindset start to change and be like, hey, remember when you didn't have any?
You had none.
Okay, and how excited you were to get that first one. Now you got that first one. Okay, now you over here with your lips stuck out because you ain't got this one. Now don't forget. So I think it changed. I think Bryce, he got his first offer in the Central Gym.
Really?
We were in the Central Gym. Yeah, Frank Haith was the first. That
was his first year?
Yeah, that was his first year here. But it does become exhausting to the point, because you have guys doing their job, their families depend on it. They continue to call, and then it gets to the point, and we always kind of like had to approach. I mean, there were schools that offered Bryce, and this is probably the coach in me that we told early that, we're probably not going to go to school there. Just out of respect of guys working hard, me knowing how the industry works. And it does. It gets to a point where, and they're just doing their job. They're constantly calling. Bryce, did you call such and such back? Yeah. Because, they called me and say they ain't heard from you.
Yeah.
If you think this is a place you don't want to go, let's be respectful about it, and let's be able to say it. So those guys, I said, those guys are used to hearing no.
Yeah.
I always say college coaches hear no more than they hear yes.
That's true.
And I said, let's get to that point. But yeah, it does. And it's funny, the process after going through it, now working with kids and different people who also go through it, you see the same, you see this, maybe not at the level, but you see the same process. So it does. I mean, it gets where, when you get tired, the coaches, they can sell, and they come in, and hey, you like this school, and you can see them in this jersey, and you like this, and Uncle so-and-so went to this school, and boy, he loves this school. And so really,
the whole pitch.
Yes, you keep it in perspective. But it does, and probably for Bryce, probably his junior year, it got to be where we just had to, really sit down and say, okay, let's narrow this down. Let's focus on these, and let's kind of look and be looking and kind of go from there. But that's a great question, and parents who have been through this process, they would agree. It does get to a point where you like, golly. Okay, yeah, I'm supposed to call him back. I'm supposed to call, So it's definitely, but like I always say, I used to tell Bryce this all the time, comes with the plate.
That's true.
You go through a cafeteria, they give you your food. There's some stuff on there you don't like.
Really won't.
You ain't gonna get a whole plate back.
That's a fact.
You gonna take it, and you just ain't gonna eat it. So when you get tired and you don't feel like it, you have to understand that it comes with the plate, and then that's what it does. And I think those things are important. Another thing that will be, the documentary that was tough for Bryce to do is when he got ready to make a decision, and he narrowed it down to his 4 schools, and he decided to go to Kansas. He had to call those coaches, not a text message,
and do a voice to voice.
Not a hey, they gonna look at it now. We waited until he'd get ready to make an announcement, like a couple of minutes before.
Right.
And
so that way it wouldn't leak.
That way it wouldn't leak. But you'll see in it how agonizing it was, because he's had these relationships, with Mike Boynton, I mean, with Pooh, I mean, with, you know, at OU, you know, and he's like, can you call him? I'm like, no, I can't call him. I said, you gonna call? Can I text him?
Oh,
no, you
absolutely
can't text him. You gonna call, and you'll be surprised that those coaches that although he didn't choose to go to their universities, they call me and say, man, that's very, you know, admirable for him to be able to do something like that. But it's just those whole processes. You don't know where those coaches are gonna be. This is all about relationships. I mean, who would have thunk I sent you the picture that you be doing what you doing and right in the gym over here. Right. I used to be like, let's go, AD. Come on, man, let's go.
I remember that. I'm going as a pup, 8th grader with the big dogs.
And now SpeakUp is nationwide, blowing up. You and Smoot doing the thing.
Trying to get it there. You know, it ain't nothing without the distinguished guests, though. But I'm going to be honest. I won't sit here and act like I knew a lot of the stuff I thought I knew a lot of stuff that we would talk about, but there's a couple things that you threw at me I had no idea was in the works. I had no idea that there was a documentary coming. What can you share about that without revealing too much?
I had, you know, it's funny, me and Ray Young talk all the time, and so I've always been in television and always been in media.
That I knew.
You know, and so doing games, my first game was 1999, it was Tulsa versus Missouri State.
Is this football?
It's basketball.
Basketball, okay.
So I was chasing the basketball dream back and forth, you know, coming back. And this is why I tell you the power of relationships. The athletic director at the University of Tulsa where I played got a hold of me along with somebody else and said, hey, a guy can't show up to do a game, and we think you will be good at it. And I said, do a game? What are you talking about? And she was like, commentate a game. I say, like, put the headphones on, commentate a game. Yes, we think you'd be good, man. You speak great. I think you'd be good at this. And I said, when is the game? They were like, tomorrow. And I said, huh? And they were like, yeah. He's like, you'll be fine. You'll do it. So drove in the car, TU playing Southwest Missouri State. I did the game with a guy who used to call my games, who was a famous commentator, Bill Land, who was over the Spurs, all the Spurs network, all that kind of stuff.
So he was gonna have you.
Yeah. So he doing the game, and so we get done doing the game, and he's like, I said, you know, he's like, Rod, how long you been doing this? I said, man, they called me last night. He was like, oh my God. He was like, I said, well, what you think I need to do better, you know? And he was like, well, the only thing, Rod, I mean, it's amazing. The only thing is, you say great every time. You know, so great was kind of my deal. Oh, great pass, great shot. Everything was great. So if something was great, it wasn't great no more because I hadn't graded them to death.
That's right. You took the sizzle out of it.
Yeah. So I did that game, and after doing that game, I always tell this story when I go speak. After doing that game, they gave me that check, and I said, "You got any more games you need me to do?" And so
made a believer out of you.
The rest is history. So from having the own show to, you know, I've done stuff for ESPN package, and, you know, kind of took a seat back and did, you know, kind of tail back because, you know, Bryce was playing Little League football with the Bulldogs, and my daughter was playing, and I never wanted to miss any of those things. So, you know, that was first. And so, you know, I still do some local stuff and get called to ask and do some other stuff, but I've been doing, you know, television since '99. So
that's how you broke into the industry.
That's how I broke in. That's like I tell people, relationships make important, and people can identify your gifts. Like I have people, man, where'd you get your journalism degree? I didn't. I was a sociology and education major, you know?
Right.
But somebody being able to identify your gift and you know, be able to do that, and they knew I love speaking, you know, and I go and I motivational speak, do all that kind of stuff, and thought I was good, and asked me to do it, and went and done it, and the next thing you know, I'll never forget in Beggs, going back to Beggs, a lady named Sister Doris Lewis. She was a preacher there, and boy, and I remember being, I always tell the story, I remember being probably 10 years old, and she called me to the front, and she said, you know, and I'm back there probably putting gum up under the pew or scratching on the pew, you know, and she called me up and she said, I see you speaking before millions of people. This is back then. Ooh-wee. So I'll never forget. And it came, and through all this time, it never came to me until I was sideline reporting for the WNBA here at the Tulsa Shock. I was a sideline reporter. Nolan Richardson was a coach. It was a huge, big deal.
I remember that.
And they were playing whoever Sue Bird played for. They were playing, so it was a big game, all this kind of stuff. I'll never forget, it was broadcast on like the NBA network. And I'll never forget them saying it like, millions viewed in and watched this.
Ding, ding.
And immediately I thought about the Sister Doris that said that when, when I was young. So, I take pride in speaking. But yeah, so that's really how I got into television, been able to do games across the state and just kind of following Bryce and Sydney, put it to the side. Still did local stuff, not travel a lot, but I'll look to do more speaking and stuff as they continue to grow.
I've always been very admirable about that, because I'm like, man, this dude, it can't be enough time in a day for you to be everywhere that you seem to be at one time. But let me ask this on a personal note. How hard is it to, when you're on the microphone and you got the headset on, how hard is it for you to be truthful, but without being harsh? You know what I mean? And the reason I ask that is because I think as viewers, and a lot of people are looking for the negative anyway, they're always looking for a fight. I think people's BS detectors are pretty good, so they can tell when you're like, come on, man, you fabricating.
Yeah.
How do you walk that line?
I think that's a great question. There is a balance. And so in doing television, excuse me, you always have sponsors, you have all these things that realize, and so
they kind of matter.
Yeah, they do matter. I try to not, if a kid is playing bad, if it's, I definitely don't, and this is probably me. I always tell people this. I think I became a better commentator and a better basketball trainer when I had kids. And I thought about it like this. Aaron looks at his kids the same way I look at Bryce. So if I'm working with a kid, if I can get them to understand, if I give maximum effort like I would with my kid, if I understood that Aaron looks at his son the same way, he has the same goals and dreams for his son or daughter like I have. I think that's the part when doing TV that you do try to look at, because it can become emotional. A team is absolutely horrible. They're playing bad. Like we did a game, and I won't say who, we did a couple games on TV, and the coach came up to me like, and he thought I'm picking the games. I'm not picking the games. Did something, and he's like, Rob, why you keep doing our game, man? We're horrible on TV. I can't get kids over here. We're bad, And I'm like, I'm not picking the game, but I was able to try to find things that when they're getting their head beat in, other things to talk about. I think it goes back to being prepared. So if I'm doing Aaron's team's game and Aaron is growing and he's trying to do it, during those times, I can divert and talk about the history of Tulsa Central. Aaron playing there.
Right.
All these different things that you have. And
you being one of my former coaches.
Yes. And so when you have those things that you're able to do, because listen, everybody wants to win. And that's what I tell people. And I remember telling a young coach this. And he was a young coach, and boy, he out coaching. He coaching AAU, man. He had the best players. A young team. I tell people,
vibrant too.
Yeah, I say when they're young, the best teams are the best athletes, and who the biggest and the strongest and the fastest.
That's right.
I say, but it all changes. You got to keep. But he beat a team 92-12, pressed the whole time. I mean, he
feeling good about himself. Huh?
Oh, kill him. Just kept. And I told him, what you think, coach? And I said, well, what I think, I know you're a young coach because you've never been on the other side of that. See, when you've been on the other side of that, you tend to say, okay, get back. All these kids know each other.
That's right. Whatever
personal you have with the coach, I mean, and I've had some decent teams, and I had plenty of it, and I would never do that. I mean, I'd go over to, look, don't put no more score on the clock. And so I think that question that you asked me, Aaron, just having the process of being prepared, having more information to be able to talk about, those are things you try to do. But it comes down to being prepared and doing it.
I've always known you to be a relatively mild-mannered kind of dude. Like every time I see you, you seem to be in the same mood.
Yeah.
Even if you're not, you're hiding it pretty good. I mean, you're always skinning and grinning. But I can remember one time, and you may or may not remember this, but you were coaching one of your PWP teams, and it was some years ago, because I think I may have still been in high school or shortly removed, and you guys were playing in the game. I think you guys were winning, and one of the fans from the opposing team was heckling you in the stands, and they said something about to the effect of, you need to go back to broadcasting. You was like, yeah, okay, I'll be on there Monday, and he went back to coaching, and I just thought that made me laugh, and then I got to thinking as I got a little older, I'm like, all right, has there ever been a moment where I know you got to be image conscious all the time. Has there ever been a time where you wanted to or almost came out of your skin, you know?
I think, I mean, people close to me, I definitely have. It takes a lot for me to get there.
Right.
But I definitely, you know, have been able to, or been able, I am very conscious of it, you know, because I do think that, you know, we try to be examples. The thing that you said, you know, I think I've always smiled. I think I've always been outgoing. Sometimes people equate that to not being competitive.
Yeah, the kindness for weakness kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, people around me probably know. I'm probably the most competitive guy you're gonna know. Now, you may not always see it,
right?
But I do think that you know, I was a good college basketball player. Not great. I wasn't an NBA player, you know, but I was gonna maximize everything that I had. And I think that sometimes people equate that to not competing. Yeah, I've had. You know, I've had times that I felt like that you know, even coaching that you know, if it be on the road, that I feel like that I've gotten out of character. That's why I think that it's important who you have around you. I always say a coach is only good as his assistant coaches. Biz is only good as the people who are around you that's able to put those checks and balances. Now, I've been able to kind of keep it in perspective. Now, it takes, you know, it takes focus, it takes meditation. But I'll say this, Aaron, and this is important, and you hear this all the time, and we say this about players. And I remember somebody saying this, they were like, man, got no dog in him, man. Gotta have a dog. And I told the guy this, I said, I'm training lions and tigers, man.
Ooh, okay. Haven't heard that one.
You see, I say, think about it. A lot of times when we talk about that, when we talk about, a lot of times it's the guy who's loud, who's aggressive. I say just like at school. You get used to the guy that yells and stuff. The guy that you're scared of is the guy that sits in the corner and smiles.
Yeah.
You don't know what he gonna do. Right. You don't know what he gonna pick up. You don't know what he gonna. So a lot of times, if a guy doesn't have a rah-rah, well, he don't have no dog. I said the difference is when you're dealing with lions and tigers, they ain't gotta say nothing. If a dog walked up in there, we may get up. But if a lion or a tiger walked up in there, good interview. Speak up.
Speak up. Y'all ain't gonna speak on this. We out of here.
But I think a lot of times we think about that as players, and we look at those things that it doesn't mean you're not competitive. It doesn't mean you don't drive. So I think to your question, there have been times that I felt like I've gotten out of my character and I've had to apologize. I think that.
What would you apologize to, though, Coach? And I'm gonna tell you where I'm coming from with that, because I think you know, when you do something, if I do something to violate you, all right, and it may be in front of some other people, correct me if I'm wrong. The way I look at it is the one who I owe an apology to is you.
No doubt.
Now I will give you that in public if the violation took place in public.
No doubt.
But all the rest of you guys that want me to, you know, bow at your feet and cry for you, it's not gonna happen.
No.
Maybe that's ego, but I don't know.
No. I think you apologize to the person.
Okay.
That you may have got out of character with. I remember like one of my coaches, and I kind of, you know, I'm really big on, you know, I want you to do things a certain kind of way, carry it even when it's hard, and I had to apologize to him because it had kind of been building up, and I should have been more mature. That instead of letting it get to this point, that I handled it early. Yeah. I just kind of let it build, and then
You lost control a little bit.
Go crazy, blah 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 blah.
Right.
You know, said some things that I shouldn't said. You know, and the part about it was that it was in front of, you know, some of the other guys, and so once everything calmed down, I was able to go to him and be like, hey man, and then, you know, and then that understanding. You know, because I always tried to make it like, although I was a director and all that kind of stuff, that we're in this together. Like when we started PWP in 1999 or whatever, and then we expanded the teams, I wanted everybody to know, like, listen, you're here because I trust you. I ain't got to come to every practice. I don't want the parents calling me, trying to talk to me about stuff. You're here because I trust your talents and your ability. And so the thing was that I wanted to be able to show, that kind of leadership and help when need to help. But I kind of lost, and I lost it in front of, some of the other people. And so once we sit down and had a conversation, I was able to apologize to him. He apologized to me. And I mean, and that bond was so much more stronger because you always see, I always say, try to see somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
And it comes down to communication. And so when he began to communicate to me, like, this is how I felt, this is what happened, a lot of stuff that we have going on, we just never sit down and talked about. Mm-hmm. And we both admitted, I was wrong in this situation, you were wrong. And then it grew, and it helped the program, it helped all these different kind of things because we had that communication. Mm-hmm. So yes, it has been times that I am very competitive. I am, and I'll say this to that. I had a parent one time, man, coach, I want you to get in him. You ain't getting in him, man. You got to get. And I say, what you want me to cuss him out? I say, tell me exactly what do you mean?
And this is them talking on behalf of their kid, right?
Yeah, on their kid.
Okay.
Coach, I want you to get in him, because I'm a pretty encouraging guy.
Yeah.
And I said this, and I said, everybody has their different approaches, right? Mm-hmm. And I said this, I said, I would rather a kid run through a wall from me because he knows I care about him and I love him, not because he's scared of me.
Great point.
A lot of kids, they're diving on the floor because they scared that I'm going to cuss them out or I'm going to say something to them. No, dive on that floor because we've been putting this time in and I want to see you be great and you go and you compete at the hardest and if you don't get it, we're going to try it again. Mm-hmm. And I think that approach bleeds over. But sometimes it's like, you're soft or you ain't getting, no. I've been fortunate to be around some good players, train some good players, have some great teams, be a part of great teams. And I think that's the balance that you're able, that you got to be able to have. But I've always said, I want you to be great because and not that just that that I love and I care about you, but I'm able to express that as a man. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes a big difference. Those are the things that because it is a lot, and kids deal with a lot, and they got all this stuff going on and all these different things. So I think that makes a big difference. But yeah, I mean, there have been times that I am very conscious of it. I mean, I give the example, just like when I go to game and I watch Bryce play, put my headphones in because everybody is looking at me trying to see how I'm gonna react when he does something wrong or he's taking out the game, right. And they'd be like, well, you don't really, but oftentimes, and I would get in the games now I'll probably cheer a lot more now, but when Bryce was playing, he was usually playing other kids that was on my team.
That's right.
And so, I love them too.
Exactly.
They've been with me forever. So
did that make it easier or more difficult as a viewer?
Well, I was always pretty even keel.
Gotcha.
I mean, if something really good happened, I would hop up.
There you go.
But yeah, it did because I've had a lot of these kids and I have these kids in the gym and we're working and getting better and you want to see them all be successful, And so it is because they'd be like, man, you don't say nothing at the game, But I got my headphones and usually I'm looking, trying to say, okay, how can he improve on this? Yeah. How can he do this? How can this player do this? And then go back, try to partner with, the head coach and say, okay, what do you think you need to work on? This is what I saw. To be able to do these kind of things and collectively, mm-hmm. Be a part of trying to make the kid as successful as we can.
I like that last part that you said from the partnership angle, mm-hmm. Partnering with their head high school coach, because it's like, I think that's important. So we can all be on the same wavelength.
That's key.
You know what I mean? And I asked one of your, I guess I'd call him your protege because he sort of put himself in that category. I was talking to Jermaine Simpson mm-hmm. a couple of episodes ago, and I asked him, and I'm gonna pose this question to you, to me, the criteria seems to be either ever changing or maybe it's a little foggy to me. Mm-hmm. Like when you're coaching in the summer and you got these high profile athletes mm-hmm. on a team, it's important for them to have good individual performances and show mm-hmm. what they have in their tool bag. But how important is winning still?
I think it's the common denominator.
Okay.
I tell people all the time, you get into all these baits about players. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, how much did he win?
Is he a winner?
Gotcha. Now, I know situations are different. You say, well, he was on the team, his team was stacked. Okay, well, if his team wasn't stacked, if you want to talk about points, he probably averaged 40 points a game. I think winning is really important. I think it makes a big difference, especially, how you look and how that translates. I'll always tease me and Bryce will always have these competitions, and we talk all the time, and I think about my teams at Beggs. And, we were small school. I tell Bryce this all the time. I said, nobody, when they talk about us winning the state championship, nobody says, Rod, you averaged 22 points a game that time on that championship team. All they say is we won a championship.
That's a fact.
All they say is, man, we remember the whole town packing up and driving to the big house to play. Man, we remember all you guys playing. Nobody sits back and says, yeah, you averaged 22.5, 22. And so I used to always tell Brian, like, listen, you want to win. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to win. You want to be able to. So I do think, Aaron, like you're saying, the balance that you have, the guys who know, I tell players all the time, you're not trying to impress your Twitter followers. You're trying to impress the people who will write your name down and say, hey, I want you to come play at my university.
That's a fact.
I had a kid, and I won't say his name, I had a kid, and parents, man, he got to score, man. He got to score. And I finally had to sit down with him because now he was really exposing himself.
Oh. Okay.
Because he was really showing his weaknesses because he wasn't that kind of scorer.
He was trying to do too much.
And I had to tell him, do this. Go block every shot. Go get every rebound. Play with energy. And when you get ready to score. That game, he had 6 points, 10 rebounds, couple of assists. He had 4 Division I offers after that game.
That sounds like a kid that got some size on him too.
Yeah.
Right?
Long. Yeah, he was long,
man.
Athletic. You know who he is. But this perception was that he had to go and score all these points when really he wasn't really built like that.
That's right.
I always tell players, you're a piece to whatever school you go to, that piece being there. But I do think it's important for success. I know like the guys that I've had, the biggest success guys that we had, there was always a partnership with our program and their school. I never wanted to be like, well, Coach Aaron over there don't know what he's doing. And this is what we get a lot into when you talk about AAU, high school. Coach Aaron over there holding back, man. I seen him in the summer, man. Well, in the summer, nobody's sitting down breaking down tape and knowing every play that you're going to run.
That's right.
You can go and you're going to play some different talent level and all those things. But I think only true success comes in everybody. It just can't be about me.
Can't be.
I told a parent the other day, a kid was getting ready and, and I'm in media, so, putting the videos together. And I told him, I said, listen, you came to me when you were 13. Never discredit those guys that coach you your first grade, second grade, fourth grade. Yeah, I know he crazy. I know he acts a fool, but don't act like he wasn't a part of your growth.
Right.
I didn't know you then.
Yeah. His journey didn't start with you.
Yes, I didn't know you when he was picking you up and as AAU coach spending all his money and all this kind of stuff. Now, I got you and I can improve some things and probably show you some things that maybe he couldn't, but that part of your journey is important too. But I think the only way you do that, and I not sit at the top, I probably sit more at the end because I'm more connected and closer when it's time for those kids to go to college. And I have groups that come, but they may not play with me the whole time. But we have to put pride away of just saying it's me, 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 me. Mm-hmm. And when parents understand that it's every part of the journey that takes place in order to get you to this point. I wasn't coaching you in the 3rd grade. And yeah, you may not like that coaching. You came and played here, but he had a part in it. Mm-hmm. And I think the more we have of that, especially when it comes to AAU high school coach, the more we can have that partnership, the better you are of that kid being successful and everybody wins. I tell people, high school matters. If you don't think these, and especially in these times now, high school matters even more. If you don't think it's important that the high school coach, the relationship you have with the high school coach and his development there, and 2 is always better than 1. So if I can partner with you with a player and say, hey, Aaron, what does he need to work on, man? What do you see? You may see something I don't see. Mm-hmm. I don't always claim to know it all. I always say this, the best coach is a coachable coach.
Fact.
I'm still learning. You know, and I've seen a lot of basketball and seen a lot of players. I can come to your practice and maybe learn something. But the guys who never want to learn and think they know it all, it has to be, and then we're both able to sit at the finish line and say, hey, man, this is what it's about. We were able to help this kid, that didn't have an opportunity, that was able to do it. And I think until we get to that, and when we get to that, we'll see more kids having opportunities that maybe they haven't had.
Taking our ego out of it. That's really what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to.
But if you truly want to see a kid blossom and prosper, it shows. But when you want to get yours, when you want to get your recognition, your love, that's gonna ooze out too.
Hey, back to Lion and Tigers. They don't come in there barking and making no noise. They just walk in, and people know. People know. And I'll give this, and I say this, and I say this humbly. I did an interview on the radio one time. And, you know, and I've been fortunate. I've been around a long time doing games on both sides of the state, worked out a lot of kids. And the guy said this. He said, some people say you're the most powerful guy in grassroots basketball in Oklahoma. And I said, really? He said, why do you think they say that? I said, because I don't. I don't say it. I just try to help. Right. People know. I ain't got, and that goes back to social media and Twitter. Just because you don't see it on social media, you don't see it on Twitter or Facebook, don't mean that it's not happening.
Man.
There's many guys out there that's helping kids that you don't know anything about. I know guys right now that, you know, like I tell Bryce, and I'll be honest, I always kind of wanted Bryce to go somewhere a little closer. You know, North Carolina, I had the relationship with Coach Robinson. I mean, North Carolina is unbelievable, you know. But I did feel like it was a side of me that was always like, you know, a way to be able to give back if somebody could drive and watch Bryce play, because so many people have helped you indirectly. People who gave and donated to our program, people who helped, all these things behind the scenes. And I think the education part that parents and players need to know, just because you play for free doesn't mean it didn't cost somebody something.
Yeah, it did. It wasn't free.
Wasn't free. Somebody paying.
Somebody paying.
but the more you can educate about that and you can appreciate that, and you're not going around saying it's me, like I you know, take PWP. Me and Sean Williams started PWP, but it doesn't happen if you don't have people around you that are able to coach, that are able to be there, to have all those kind of things. You're only as good as the people around you. And I think that's the part that's where true success is. Now, if I'll be honest, it takes some focus and dedication, because everybody wants to feel valued. Right. They do. And it does make you feel good when a kid says something, you know, about you that, you know, you were able to help. I mean, we're humans. I mean, we love that. True. But I do think until we get to the point where we can be humble enough to be able to say, listen, I can't do it by myself. I got to have Aaron. Hey, that kid over there with Aaron, I got to have Aaron try to help me. Hopefully I can help Aaron. Okay, yeah, he did this. Let's get in the gym. Your coach say you need to work on this. And I think the more you have that, the more you don't have that kid fighting against his high school coach or his AAU coach. Right. I think most kids are good kids, so they're going to try to do what every adult in their life is telling them to do. But consequently, if you preaching one sermon, I'm preaching another one, you getting 50 tops, and I'm getting 50 tops. Yes. Neither one of us are getting the most out of this kid. And I know that. I mean, because I've been around enough players and know enough coaches that I could tell a kid like, Aaron don't know what he's talking about. don't even play. Right. And you struggling the whole year with your best player because I done told him that you don't know what you're doing. No, we got to figure it out. You can learn from each other. We got to be on the same level, you know, and being able to try. If we're about really helping kids. I mean, if I hear one more time, man, it's about the kid. No, it's not. It's about you, man. Yeah, show me it's about you. Yeah, it's about you. Speaking of the kid, I thought something is pretty ironic, but I think it's pretty special to you. It's got to be. You played for Bill Self in college at the University of Tulsa. Yeah. Now here's your son. Some years later, he's playing for Bill Self as well at the University of Kansas. Man, how's that make you feel? You know, tell me about that. It's pretty special. Right. I mean, you guys played. You and Smoot played. I mean, and we all have dreams of being able to go and being able to play. The story a couple days ago, some weeks ago, they had what they call boot camp. Now, I went through boot camp at Tulsa, so we run. I mean, guys throwing up. I mean, all this kind of stuff.
Down.
And it was pretty special because Coach Self and Coach Rob called me and said, man, Bryce is doing unbelievable. I mean, he's like in the great shape, man. He takes care of his body. He said we were running, and we got done, and he got finished, and he was kind of leaning up against the wall. And we looked over, and we swore that was you. You know?
Looking just like you.
And I said, you know, nobody with God but would know that when I was at TU and doing boot camp, that in 2020, my son would be doing the same boot camp, you know, with these same guys. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of history, you know, right there at Kansas. I mean, when they used to come here and play in the NCAA tournament, we would go and watch practice. Bryce was, you know, this size, you know, and, you know, loving the game and being around. But also the tie with Kansas is Bryce's grandfather played a year at Kansas. So
really?
My wife, Goldie, her name is Goldie because her dad played for the Golden State Warriors when she was born. So that's why her name is Goldie. So he went to the University of Kansas for a year, ended up leaving, went to Texas Parent American, led the country in scoring for some years, and went with the Golden State for like a year or two. But
kid comes from good stock, don't he?
Yeah. I always say, man, he got that from his mama. I say, hey, I know who I am.
Yeah, that's it. Because you can't rock me.
All about recruiting, Coach. All about recruiting.
All about.
But I said, but it is. I mean, when you think about it, and Bryce is the first kid a former player's kid that have ever played for Coach Self. So it was pretty. I mean, but I know that he's gonna, you know, push him and you know, nothing's gonna be given to him. He's gonna have to, you know, work. But it is. I mean, when doing this process, when they pulled out, you know, old pictures of, you know, me and Coach Self standing there and the rental center is being built and I'm in my uniform and all that kind of stuff. And now to see him playing, you know, yeah, it is. I mean, it's a pretty special deal.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, even before Bryce got introduced to that element, was there ever some time where he inquired about Dad and how your run was? Did he ever say, man, Daddy, what type of player were you? Tell me about, you know, how it was when you were playing.
He didn't have to ask. I told him.
Oh, yeah. Whether he wanted it or not.
Yeah.
I like that.
Sit down and listen, boy. This. And
Just the way it's going down.
Yeah, 3 state champ. Yeah, he always say 3 state champs. But yeah, I mean, I've always tried to prepare him, and the biggest thing, you know, I think I say when the door shuts, because you deal with all this, you know, publicity. You're so great. You just then when you get in all these university ones, they shut that door. Mm-hmm. Now it's real.
That's right.
You know, now and so I think, you know, educating him on that process. But yeah, we went through, you know, the good players, the guys I played against, you know, and I always said understanding your role and who you are. And I say this all the time. You think about players. Like when I was at the University of Tulsa, the best player on my team was Shea Seals.
Straight up.
You get him the ball, right? You get him the ball,
right,
and you get ready when they double team him to be able to make a shot.
It was cut and dry.
Cut and dry. You got to know who that is. That's part of knowing. But I think a lot of that is lost because kids think about it. Yeah. Kids don't really play pickup no more. It's controlled.
Yeah.
And I say, I hate to sound old, but like if I'm sitting there playing a game and Aaron is on my team and Aaron's guy can't hold him, okay? If Aaron can score 7 points and keep us on the court, I'm going to keep passing to Aaron because I know, guess what? Over here is 3 other teams that's waiting. I'm going to have to set for 5 games.
Yep.
I don't want to set for 5 games.
No.
So guess what? Aaron, he can't guard you. Keep throwing it to him. Keep throwing it to him. We're lost in that right now, and don't realize the guy that's making the pass, he's just as important as the guy that's making the shot.
That's a fact.
And so I was able to do that. And then when Shea left, then it was my senior year, you know, and I led us in scoring, but it was a weight that came with that. Mm-hmm. I never played with the best player from the other team guard me every time.
Right.
Like Shea had dealt with the times that we were there. But I think understanding, giving him all those scenarios and all those informations, all that information to be able to take that and calculate that, be able to look. Like I always give this example, Aaron, and you can do this with your players. And this is no charge, these nuggets.
I'm getting it pro bono. There we go.
Former player. But I say this all the time, and I work with young players. Most young players can't even tell you the best player that played their high school.
Yo, that's true. That's true.
They can't tell you the best player that played. They can't give you the best 3 players that played at their high school. So how do you know? How do you understand? But they can show you all the codes to get on Fortnite.
Yeah, baby.
They can show. I just learned what a streak was on Snapchat or whatever. They know what streaks is. And I use Bryce because it's my son, and I know you know him. But Bryce knew all the history of Booker T.
Yeah.
I didn't go to Booker T, but he knew all the history. He knew all the great players. He knew. I always say chasing legends.
That's a fact.
I knew. He has a shirt that my boy Steph Simon had gave me. I think that I forgot who made it. Ryan Sydney's nephew.
Ryan Carter.
Ryan Carter, my man Ryan Carter.
Vintage, baby.
Hooked me up, yeah, Ryan Carter. But he had the shirt with all the Tulsa guys on there. And and Bryce has that shirt. And I mean, it's like
I know the one you're talking
about.
Yeah,
and Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, the poster that used to be in the barbershop.
And I think it's important that these young players, it's the education side. I send guys clips all the time. You have YouTube of guys who play. Like, you'll be surprised at the kids that don't know in the last 2 years who were the better players around here. Understand their journey. Understand that I mean, like one of Bryce's goals was to try to win 4 state championships at Booker T. Why? Because there was some guys there that had done it before. That had won 4. He played in 3, won 1, would have had a chance maybe to win 1 this year, to go back to back. But you have to know. You have to be able to set those goals and understand what they did after that. And most young players, and that's why I say the education side, and I'm always stressing that, like you probably got guys right now that don't know nothing about, the great players that played here and the history and all the state championships. I mean, there's people that walk through here and you see all those state championships, they couldn't even tell you how many it was and when the last time they won it.
That's right. What are those numbers on the
wall? But when you understand that and you have those things, you have a better sense. One, it should humble you, because you realize, listen, you ain't the only one that set it on fire now.
That's right.
Humble yourself and keep working. Yeah. But the other part, you keep working towards that. You keep understanding, what that is. I'm sure just like you, and doing your podcast, and doing it. It was guys that you looked at, that you understood. It's guys that that I know nothing about.
That's right. I'm still studying every day.
But players don't do that. And it's like, we have to start understanding, okay, do you know who this guy is? Do you know who this guy is? Do you know what he did? And I think those things are important, and it has to be more than just saying, well, such and such was the best in Tulsa. No, you got to get in depth. Right. Okay, what did he do? What did his teams do?
Right.
This is who they played. All those kind of things I think are important, and what I like to call the whole player that you're able to have. And back to what you were saying, and I got off on something else, and you were talking about the documentary.
Yeah, but I'm staying on point, though. I'm listening. I'm rolling. Like you said, stay on the ride.
Yeah. So you said if I could, talk about it more, and I think I went off onto something else. But part of it is, and the reason it was done, and I need to do better on social media. I'm not a real big social media guy, but it is the education side. Because I tell people all the time, dream big and work towards it. I said, think about this. If you'd have told me that in the 6th, 7th grade, that Bryce would be a McDonald's All-American, he would be, which for me, like if you said the highlights, winning state championships, McDonald's All-American for me, it's like,
I'm like, yeah, baby.
Oh man, I thought I died and went to heaven.
Yeah, we here. You ain't gotta tell me nothing else.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel that.
Because you understand, the level of that. If you play, you understand the level of that. But the part of it is to show the educational side, is to show the highs and the lows, is to show the bad games, not just the good games, is to show the full journey. But the part about Bryce's story, I think, which is good, is that you've seen him play. He wasn't always that guy.
No.
This dude would fall down and, I'd be like, get up off the floor. He was weak. He
wasn't explosive.
He wasn't none of that.
Right.
And then you look up and he taking it between his legs, dunking it. But again, how you receive information. Some parents, if you said that, listen to Aaron, man.
Yeah, immediately
talking about my son. No, you're right. But now, I always say, when you look at far as high school, you look at the finished product, and now he all over the rim. Now you can't knock him over.
Right.
Now he windmilling that thing. Now that's the same guy.
Yeah, a lot of people, and there's some people, like you said, not knowing the history, they think that he was born with that probably. Even knowing that since day one.
And that's the part, yes, and that's the part of the journey. That's the part that I remember it was either Johnny Dash or Sam, one of those guys. And I had them do a video. And the video, and it's pretty cool, and they show Bryce younger throwing to an older Bryce.
Oh, yeah.
Show Bryce passing it and an older Bryce shooting it. It showed Bryce shooting it and a younger Bryce playing defense, because that's the education side. Nobody looks at that. And I think that's the problem. I always say potential is not who you are, it's who you can become. So I've been around it long enough that, I could probably look at a 6th or 7th grade and say, you got a chance if you keep doing this and doing that.
You're on to something.
Why? Because I've had those. I mean, even like football, when you talk about having the Dax Hill and the Josh Proctors and the way they moved on the basketball court, you knew they had a chance far as football. You said the Tyler Lock, all those guys. So I think when you talk about the documentary, and the book and all that kind of stuff, it's, I want to, and I'm going to give you a little bit, I want to title it Raising McDonald's. Ooh, and stuff has to be cleared to do all that. But it's not to, you'll be surprised, Aaron, how many guys in media, Doug Gottlieb's, different guys who have kids who are busy that call me and be like, hey, what did you do in this situation? Why did you put him here? What did you work on with this? What did you do with this? Because I did have other players, like one of my buddies called me Frankenstein, because I've had so many different players, and I said, hey, you need to add this to your game. You need to go, we got to work on this because you got to get to this. I mean, just technical stuff from all the years of doing it. But the biggest part, he was like, man, you need to write a book or do something and show. But
sort of like a how-to.
Yeah, but little did they know that I've been documenting all of this.
Yeah. So you had some foresight some time ago then.
Oh.
Look at you.
Like I talked to Ray.
You might be Frankenstein.
I talk to Ray Young all the time. And he said, man, I wish I would have just had just so much video of Trey in the 7th, 8th grade. Like I've had people following us since 6th, 7th grade.
Yeah.
So you don't know what the end is going to be.
That's right.
As I say, this journey is a lot like faith.
It is.
You don't quit believing because God ain't gave you what you wanted yet.
That's right.
You keep believing. And so the journey didn't start saying, well, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to attain all these goals. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work as hard as I can to be able to get there. Now, for Bryce, I mean, and I go back to McDonald's All-American,
Got to.
One of the goals was, to be McDonald's All-American. I always tease him and say the only reason he won because they hated on me back in '94. I was supposed to be one back in '94.
You know what I'm saying? So Sonny Boy got the sympathy.
Yeah, I was nominated.
Fair enough.
From Biggs, they was hating on me, man. Didn't give me, But that was one of the goals. I never think, and that's what I always say, is how you respond to what's going on. Like that state championship game. I believe that was character building and to continue to work and push yourself, even when you don't know what the end is going to be. Like my grandma used to say, we're going to see what the end going to be. So what they used to say in church, see what the end going to be. Now, we're going to keep working to see what's going to happen. But I think when things like that happen, and I will say this is something like, and I always talk about, I talk to Ray Young all the time.
Right.
And so I remember seeing Trey in the 6th, 7th grade, and if you don't think that I knew every camp, everything that me and Ray talked about when Bryce was young and Trey was going to, that I knew. Now, you know what I could have said? I ain't talking to him, man.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time,
That's
man.
the competition.
Hey, I know people too.
Right.
I know them same people. I ain't finna ask, I ain't finna talk to him. I got this figured out. But the whole time was, he had walked down some roads that I hadn't walked down yet. It's one thing to see, but it's another thing to know. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, like I tell him this all the time. Me and Bryce used to sit and watch videos, and you know, one of the goals is to go to NBA Top 100 camp. Bryce was fortunate to go twice.
Man.
But one of the things we watched was Trae Young and Gary Trent going at it, you know, doing one of the games, looking at the jerseys, looking at where they was playing at the University of Virginia.
Right, the atmosphere.
You know, like, hey, okay, we got to work here to try to be able to get, and then he gets an invite. And then we get here and the walls and the jerseys and everything. Now, that helped. Those things help. But I think oftentimes, like I say, if we treated the basketball the same way we did the real world, if I wanted to be a doctor, like now I get people call, well, you want to be a doctor? Okay, yeah, I know a doctor. Yeah, he can shadow Dr. Such and such.
And they were probably thinking, oh, we thought we were going to shadow you.
Yeah, but yeah, because I think you got scrubs on. You're a doctor.
You're a doctor, right?
But think about it. So if a young coach, okay, get with AD, because think about it, Aaron, you can show, there's some things you know right now that you didn't know 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Fact. Absolutely.
I tell people, I handle things a lot different now, 20 years into it, than I did 15 years ago. Stuff don't really bother me, you know.
Right.
I mean, different stuff that you deal with, but I think that whole journey, and for Bryce to be able to achieve that, it wasn't just me. Mm-hmm. It's so many different people, and really, I could have tried to be like, I got it, because I do know all those people, and I do know that comes from years of doing it. I say, just like right now, think about this example, and I said this to a group of parents. If I wanted to start a store, right? Right now, there are some things that Quick Trip could show me that I wouldn't know. Nobody would question it.
Right.
There are some potholes that there are some, and like I said, I can be your cheat code.
Just let me.
And I want to be an open book, because that same enjoyment and fulfillment is selfish of me not to want to share it with other people.
Right.
You know, and I think I learned from that. There were so many different people that were able to help that I was willing to ask. Okay, you got to go to this camp. You got to go to this. Okay, you need to get here. Okay, this size. And I attribute it back to, in the documentary, and just the education side. Like I had a parent call me the other day. Well, Rod, I think he can play at Tulsa. He can play at, how do you know? Tell me how you know. I think he, okay, tell me who on the roster plays your son's position at Tulsa. I don't know.
It's 0 for 1.
Well, how are you gonna know? You can't just throw stuff out there.
Right.
You don't know if he like big guards, little guards, you know, and I was using Tulsa, and I was like, listen, it isn't based on what you do against your high school. I'm sure Frank Haith is saying, can you be on my team and help me go beat Penny Hardaway in Memphis?
Hello.
Who last year had the #1 recruiting class.
Right.
I mean,
conference folk.
But these are educational things that parents have to know.
Right.
So I guarantee you that if all the information is given and you can be honest in the situation and give them all the honest information, that if they get to the finish line and they may not achieve it, the fall isn't as hard, because you know you gave it everything and you had all the information that you needed. Mm-hmm. As opposed to, oh yeah, Aaron, man, you can play over here and you gonna play here, and then that clock starts ticking. And you can see the kid, I've seen it. You see as the senior season goes on, you see them shrink more and more. Mm-hmm. Because now nobody told them the truth about their talent, so they didn't work to achieve more out of it. And now you're getting to the finish line. Now everybody else is getting offers. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is getting to go. And now you start to sink in. I ain't really like basketball, no way.
No, is that what it is? You actually loved it.
You loved it. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes, you weren't given the right information. And then when you were given the right information, your camp of people around you didn't receive it. And that's why I always say, you know, one of the points of the book, it is important how you receive information. And I think that's the biggest deal that we deal with the parents in youth sports. You know, it's got, and not just me, there's so many guys, so many wealth of information that we have around here. You know, you got Coach Cable, you got all these guys that have seen players. I always say this. If I was a doctor, nobody would question what I say when it came to basketball. Speaking of lawyer, your dad is a lawyer.
That's a fact.
You know, I've had people call me, hey, man, I'm good. Why do they call him instead of maybe some young guy that just started? Why? Because he's gotten a lot of people off. He's helped a lot of people. But we don't take that approach when it comes to basketball.
That's right.
I got it figured out. I know it. Man. And I think that
That's a great point, man. You giving me game right now. I didn't think about that because I may gamble on the basketball court with that whiteboard or something, but I ain't gonna gamble with my life now.
You're not gonna gamble with your life.
I'm going to go seek some legal counsel.
And I always say you're dealing with dollars and cents.
That's true.
So you're dealing with college scholarships. Now you're dealing with name, image, and likeness. And then if you get to the next level, you can go and you're dealing with generational wealth. These things are important, but it starts early, the whole education process, because, you know, it's so tough because parents spend so much money, so much time, so many resources going all over the country. And those are great. And coaches, you know, they put their time and do so much things for these young people, but equipping them with the right information is so important, because the end goal, yeah, you want to play and have fun, but hopefully little Johnny can get his school paid for.
That's what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to.
And your breakdown a while ago, you sort of described me in terms of maybe not the shrinking part.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
But as a senior, I'm looking at a lot of my counterparts signed, sealed, and delivered. Derek Lewis, he signs his letter of intent to go to Texas A&M. And then Jameer King signs his letter of intent to go to Centenary right out of high school. Just to throw a few. Will Creekmore about to go to Boston right now. And I'm like, oh man, all right. Well, here it is.
Okay.
It's senior prom time. It's late April. The season been over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't win it that second year like we wanted to, but I'm like, all right, well, I know I don't want to be done playing.
Yeah.
And this is so, and I hope that none of my coaches take exception to this, but this is to show you how much I didn't know. I had no idea of any level of college athletics below NCAA Division I. I heard a little something about NCAA Division II. NAIA, never heard of it. Junior college, never heard of it. Until, you know, I had one opportunity to go. I won't even call it an offer. One opportunity to go play, and that was at Murray State, and at the junior college level. But I was like, okay. My ego was in check, luckily.
Yes.
But then I had to really look myself in the mirror and really say, okay, wherever I may have thought I was, I'm not there.
You're not there. But think about it. I sat down with a parent the other day. I said, name me one Division II school.
Couldn't do it. Oh, that's sad. Dang,
So you don't even know your opportunities. You don't even know, you know, they didn't even know how many Division I schools in the state, D2 schools. So you mark all of that off and you write all those down and say, hey, these are the opportunities. You got to start reaching out to these schools. This is where you are right now. But you'd be surprised, they don't even know that.
And it's so rough, and you can't expect a kid to know if you don't know.
They don't know. They're just playing. If you don't know as a parent, or you don't know as a coach, I don't care how much you put on social media. I don't care how many pictures you take and how many we out here balling and we coming and all this kind of stuff.
All that.
At the finish line, you don't have nothing. But a couple of views. It don't. But I think that's where we get it mixed up. I think that's where this generation, because I can get a photographer and I'm in the gym and all that, you don't even know your opportunities.
And there's a college out there for everybody.
Come on.
And so many. And I'm going to tell you the other level that I learned once I started playing in college ball. I had to learn this on the job training. I'm in junior college, and then I'm looking at some talent on the opposing team, and these cats, I'm like, what is he doing here? And then I'm introduced to the concept of, okay, this kid may have been an NCAA level talent, but not so much as a student. So now he had to go this route. Or maybe he did go Division I out of high school, ran into some disciplinary issues, had to reroute, so now he's at the junior college level. You know, when I got to NAIA, same situation. I'm looking at some cats like, yo, we probably don't need to be on the same floor together, because that's how much further ahead of me they were.
They were.
Like, okay, so then I'm like, yo, the next level is the next level.
But think about this, Aaron. What do you think? Okay, and I'm turning the tables on you because I interview too. But where do you think that you got the foresight or being able to see, like, ooh, that's different? Man, I'm not that level. Now I ain't gonna quit working, but where do you think you got that where you were realistic about your talent?
I got that from my village mainly. Well, my caregivers, my mom and dad, and my coaches.
Yes.
I think what was key to that was that there was a point in me and my dad's relationship where he realized that, okay, he needed to dial it back and sort of just be dad. Because he was doing what any parent would.
Yes.
You know, those car rides home, I'm like, man, I want my mama to drive so I can, you know what I mean, ride with her and stuff like that. But he ended up backing off, and I had coaches that were truth tellers. And then, you know, I'm
key.
like, all right.
But I think this is the difference, and I always use my story. A lot of people don't even know this, and this is why. And I've learned this early about who you have around you and the information that you're given. A lot of people don't even know. Coming out of high school, okay, I had a horrible tournament of champions. I was going to OBU. Bob Hoffman, who's at UCO now, recruited me. You know, I was going to go to OBU,
which ain't bad.
No,
at all.
Unbelievable. I mean, they were winning. They were doing great. Hoffman, a great coach. All this, and I had a counselor come to me. I told you I always wanted to go to Tulsa. I had a counselor come to me, probably 2 weeks before I was going to sign.
Oh wow.
And a coach and said, "Hey, your grades are great. Your test scores are great. You know that you could go to a JUCO for a year and have 3 years at Division I." Huh?
And they said, you know, and you're like, no, I didn't know.
No, I didn't know that. But the counselor came and does that. I sit down. Everybody thought I was going. I go to NEO for a year. Well, first, let me tell you how I lost.
Didn't know that part.
Let me tell you how I didn't get the scholarship to Tulsa.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm in.
And this is a big story. It was me and another kid, right? He's from Texas. Coach set up a scrimmage between our two summer teams. We got done playing, and I knew that this was kind of deciding factor who was going to get to go. We get into the game, and probably halftime, I realized this dude here is on a different level.
Yeah.
He was more verbal, if you can believe it. I talk a lot now, but he was more verbal. He talked more. He ran the team more. He was stronger. He was just more mature. I left there. The scrimmage was at Union. I left Union. I went home, and I knew. I was like, I'm not going to Tulsa.
You just knew it.
I knew it. Next thing you know, he commits and signs to Tulsa. So, fast forward, trying to think of other options. I'm crushed, keep working, keep pushing. My counselor says that. I go to NEO. What it did for me, though, Aaron, it made me realize where I wasn't, how much more I needed to work, how I was the guy in my little bubble, but it was other guys out there.
Levels to it.
Levels. And so I went, began to work, didn't know, counselor told me that, ended up going to NEO. Knew the things that I had to work on, knew things that he did that I didn't. I ended up going to NEO, busting my tail, working. Tubby Smith was the coach at TU then.
I remember that era.
8 months later, Tubby Smith is walking into the gym at NEO saying, I want you to come to the University of Tulsa.
How gratifying was that?
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was life-changing because I could see that the hard work paid off. I could grab it. It was tangible.
Tangible.
You know what I'm saying? And I asked, I said, Coach, why would you? I mean, you got your son coming. You already got the other kid there. And he said, I wouldn't be here if I didn't need you. I want you. You've gotten better. And I was up. I was working. I was pushing. I got better. He ended up leaving, going to Georgia. I ended up going to Tulsa anyway. Ended up starting. And see, people don't even realize that the whole JUCO journey, you know, and going to NEO and working. But I understood that I had to get better. I had to get better. It wasn't like, I am here to get better. I'm here to improve. And so when you look at that and you talk about the information and how you receive it, you know, and going back to the team around you and who can give you this valuable information, the counselor and my coach changed the trajectory of my life.
You were sold on what you were going to do.
Done.
At least you thought you were.
Hey, I'm a good student. I'm going to do this, and then it changed. Met my wife. You know, all these things at the university, played for Bills, NCAA tournament. Rest is history.
It was written.
And I say that all the time. I've been able to experience it through my with Bryce and hopefully with Sydney with volleyball and all this stuff. But I always say dream big, but with that dream you gotta work and you gotta push it.
Gotta put that work behind it.
And so those things have made a huge difference. But it is important, the team, Aaron, that you have around you and being able to reach out and try to get information and being able to receive that information.
That's right. Get out of your own way, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, what sort of gets I don't want to say lost, but what I think is undermentioned is the rest of your village. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your wife and your daughter, man. Where do they fit in all?
Who are they?
This?
Who are they? So I met my wife in college.
Right.
She was a volleyball player at TU. She played volleyball at TU. Grew up in St. Louis, Arkansas, and Texas, and then and of course Sydney, who I say is the most talented Thompson of the group. She broke my heart. She quit playing basketball.
How long ago?
She played. Matter of fact, she played last year.
Really?
Yeah, but
it's
she's
still sort of fresh.
focusing on volleyball. Yeah. But I always say she's the most talented Thompson. I mean, she can, do it all, relate, and so she loves volleyball, and so we're kind of on that journey with volleyball. COVID, just like with everything else, hurt so many different people. But she's a junior at Booker T, and got daddy wrapped around her finger. But yeah.
I read one of your posts the other day. I saw you had a picture posted as well. It said that's your fishing partner, right?
Yeah. So when Bryce is here, he fishes too, but Sydney loves to fish, and we love old cars, so she'll hop in one of the old cars and drive it. And so yeah, she's doing good. She's a junior at Booker T and really, really talented. So proud of her too. So been blessed, man. I mean,
it looks that way.
And so blessed.
And I'm looking around. I'm like, man, I remember seeing both of these youngsters when they were little bitty.
They were little. I mean, and I always say this to young people and young coaches, Aaron. I mean, like, people don't know when I was coaching over here, I learned so much from Coach Scott, and just as far as taking care of people, and he allowed, and we had a great staff, but I was here, it was so many things, I remember being here out in that parking lot where we parked, and I remember getting in my car after a 5 a.m. practice, and 9/11 hit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm a 7th grader.
Yeah. All these things, all these memories, but at that time I was coaching here at Central. I was doing television.
Right.
We started PWP.
Yep.
I mean, I was in my car with 3 different changes of clothes, running from here and there, and that's what I always try to tell young people, another point, I'm giving you all the points of the book and all this kind of stuff. I always say this, I always say study the beginning. And we don't do it. We don't do it as players. We don't do it as even as adults. Like someone will see you and want to be a coach, and they see you coaching right now. They see you, as your podcast goes and there's millions of people watching it, they will only see that. They won't see the beginning when you and Smoot maybe got 1 camera instead of 3 or 4 around here.
We remember
or
that.
1 microphone.
Yeah.
Or
all audio.
And I tell people that you have to study the beginning. And I give this analogy when it comes to players. So that's just like you watching somebody in high school play, and somebody says, man, he can be a pro. Oh, man, don't say pro now. And I said, the reason the reaction is like that because nobody studies the beginning. I always say this is what I did with Bryce and other players. He knows what Bradley Beal did as a sophomore in high school. He knows what Chris Paul did as a high school. Study the beginning. You just see them now. So if you take a player and you say, man, he has a chance to make it, you're looking at that kid at Central High School and throwing him in an NBA game right now. No, he's not ready right now.
Yeah, who would be?
But what did those guys look like as sophomores? I remember going to USA Basketball, and I remember sitting out there, and I was looking at all these guys, and I said, man, this is probably 80% of the future NBA. I seen a guy on social media.
That's a realistic view, though.
Oh, yeah, it is. But the difference is this: when you look, it was a trainer, real popular, trainer on social media, and he had a guy that was shooting, and and the guy was making shots. He was shooting threes. He was making all these threes, and he's like, you guys better realize there's levels to this. There's levels that y'all talking about pro, and this guy play overseas. And and my answer was, well, show me him as a sophomore.
Yeah.
I guarantee you he wasn't making them shots like that as a sophomore in high school.
It took work, man.
But when you don't study the beginning, I think a lot of times you really feel like you can't get there. You feel like it's so unattainable.
Right.
And I'll tell you, even in the journey with Bryson, going all over the country and even other players, seeing other players and seeing guys now that's in the NBA and what they did, you have that gauge, but if you never study the beginning, like I always use Quick Trip because I go there. But,
that's right. Man.
But think about it. And I ask kids to play basketball, and I say, "You guys ever go to Quick Trip?" Yeah. I say, "Where did it start?" "Oh no, started in Tulsa." I say, "You don't even know that." I said, "You don't know that?" I said, "Read the book," and went bankrupt a number of times.
That part I didn't know.
Yes.
I knew it started here.
I'll give you the book. I'll give you the book.
I need that.
But you see one on every corner.
Every corner.
Perseverance, kept pushing, kept going. And I could call every one of those kids and ask them, "What you like to get Quick Trip?" "Oh, I like to get this. They know everything. "Oh, I like to get this coffee." But you never study the beginning. You never know. And so when you start diving in, even as a player, study the beginning, see where they were then. Now you can get to where you want to go. And I think that concept transcends basketball and everywhere else. Study the beginning. You see a guy right now that's doing well, and I use coaches. You see college coaches. And I said, you see that guy coaching, at a high major college, you didn't see him when he started, he was sweeping the floors.
That's right. That wasn't his first gig.
That wasn't his first gig. But when you do, you appreciate where he is, and then it should give you hope that you can do it too. So how you receive information, study the beginning. Give me all these nuggets here, AD.
Man.
Exclusive. Speak up.
Exclusive.
AD.
Got the SpeakUp.
Get it done. Tulsa Central.
From Coach Thompson, all that. But, man, and I'm about to touch that too. But you said something that made me want to ask you a question as it pertains to Bryce. Now, when you use those two names as examples, Chris Paul and Bradley Beal, how'd you do it with Bryce? Did you, was it a situation where it's like, all right, son, who are your favorite players? And he names them and he say, okay, dive into their catalog. Or did you assign him players?
We did those two, but then it was kind of set to where I thought his game was and how he could kind of develop into who that was.
Gotcha.
We didn't, look at the Greek Freak because he wasn't, what I'm saying? Or, and you watch those, but you watch some more closely. You may watch, Buddy Hield or some of these guys that, spent, 4 years at OU. Everybody gets in the craze. Oh, it's going to be one and done. I don't care if it's 1, 4, 5.
That's right.
Try to get to where you want to go, know. And I think those things are important. So yeah, it was definitely, his favorite players, a lot of players from OKC just because, it was close.
Yeah, man.
But you start, and we have that access now with all the internet stuff, and you go back and look. And go back, and the key is just don't go back and watch highlights. Really dive in.
Yeah.
Go back and look and see what happened. Go look at the bad games. Go back and look and see. But we never see that, and because we never see that, we feel like we can't attain it.
That's right.
We feel like we can't touch it. I always say this. Great quote by a great man. I always say our biggest heroes are the ones that we can touch.
Yeah, that's a fact.
It's a fact.
That's a fact.
A great man said that. Me.
See, there you go. Yeah, you got to get all this credit. Rod
Thompson, put that on. The greatest heroes are the ones that we can touch. And when you can touch that and you can feel that and you can see that, it makes a difference. But you understand and you appreciate it and you value it more when you understand that. That's why stories and books are good. You understand. I can't tell you, like in this coaching game and all this kind of stuff, that you start learning where such and such was before he got there, and this guy was here before he got there, and you're like, wow, okay, he was that guy, And I think those things make a big difference, and it should influence us and give us inspiration to keep going and keep pushing.
Yeah, and as a viewer, I'm always conscious of giving a kid his just due. I want to give him his credit. But whenever you dive into the catalog, like you said, dig in the crates, you know what I mean? And you really sort of get a feel for who this kid was and who he is now.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? It's hard not to root for him now. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now you can't hate.
You can't hate. You know what I'm saying?
You got to reevaluate.
Yeah, don't tell nobody because they're going to know you hate.
Now, I got to say something to you. I'm going to go the long way with it to ask you a very basic question. Now, in August 2003.
We're going to have to do a 2-part series, I guess.
We might have to.
I'll give it all
get you out of here soon.
No, you good. You good. I got all day. Let's go.
Same here.
All day.
Divine order.
All day.
August 2003, I come into high school. And even before that, in the spring of 2003, before the end of that 02-03 school year, I'm an 8th grader. I don't know whose idea this was, but all I remember my daddy just told me, hey, boy, starting tomorrow morning, we're going to get up, we're going to go over there to Central, we're going to work out. I'm like, all right. And so when I get in there, it's Rod Thompson. Of course, I know who you are. And it's some of the names of the guys that were in high school at that time. Well, Sean Williams was there. Yeah, and it was you two guys orchestrating it. You know what I mean? The whole staff wasn't in. It's Princeton Walker in there, Troy Williams. And these are guys that were juniors then. Harris Shaw. They were about to be seniors as I was getting ready to come in as a freshman. And so when I come in as a freshman, the staff is Terry Scott, Rod Thompson, Sean Williams, Bobby Neely, Jamal West. And I just remember, you know, we were senior heavy that year. It was like 8 to 10 of them. And those dudes, I was just looking at them, they were like, man, I was in awe. Every day I'm coming in there to practice, and I'm coming in there kind of goofy, and one of them, hey, man, stop playing. And so that's when I really got introduced to, there really are levels to this. And I'm like, man, if I could just work hard enough just to put a uniform on and come out the tent with the smoke.
With the smoke.
You know what I mean? But like, that was the year when I was like, you know what? I think I really want to do something like this with my life in terms of, I'm saying, man, I want to coach basketball. And I'm going to tell you, the impactful moment was at the end of that year. We lost, I'm going to say they, because I decided to get the dress. They lost in the state semis to Ardmore. And I remember we scouted Ardmore the day before. They had a bad shooting day. We didn't know that was an aberration. So the next day they came out, they set the place on fire.
No doubt.
We had a really good team, I thought. And we get into the dressing room. You know, it's rough on any of those players when the season's over. Because, you know, for some of them, that's where the journey ends.
It's done.
And I just remember you, man. You bawling your eyes out, man. Because Coach Scott came to you. It was your turn to speak. And I remember you had to get up and gather yourself. They got the cameraman in there and everything. You had to have that moment. And that's when I knew, like, man, what I'm feeling right now, I don't know what this is, but this is what I want to be a part of right here. But I could tell you poured so much of, you know, your time, yourself, your energy, building those relationships, not just them as players, but relationship-wise with those guys. And, you know, it was time to turn the page on that chapter. And it hurt you like that. But I was like, I'll say, this is real right here. That's how I know I got some real coaches on the ground. So what I want to ask you is, if you can think back to some of the players that you had some of the most impactful relationships with.
Man, it's been a bunch of them. The biggest joy, it's probably later in guys understanding what you were saying.
When the light bulb finally comes on?
Light bulb comes on. And I remember I had a former player, and I won't say his name, and I would always talk to him like, hey, man, get your grades. Hey, try to get married before you have kids. You know, talk to, you know, just about different things.
Some life nuggets.
And I'll never forget. I was in the hospital, and he was. I mean, it may have been our first year here, and he had a little girl, and the little girl had broke her wrist, elbow, and so he came in, and I hadn't saw him in years, and he was like, and I saw him, and he was like, Coach, man, listen. Man, I remember going 5 a.m. in Central, and everything you told me, man, I was just telling my mom, like, you know, I was going through some stuff, and I just thought about all the time we would have at Central, and we'd be doing. He was like, Coach, and you know what, Coach, I'm married, Coach, and I didn't think I was gonna get married. No, and it's things like that, Aaron, that you realize, and I think it goes back, and I think you understand. There were so many coaches and people who imparted into my life. Who gave me an opportunity, who you know, made it a fun experience, who gave me life nuggets. And I think that when I look back, and it's not the guys who, you know, maybe go to the NBA or have played. It's the guys who, you know, are good people, who are who are helping others, who are giving, and who are trying to make a difference. And if it's out in the public, if it's, you know, just in a little small area, I think sometimes we feel like that we don't have the impact, you know, if it's not affecting the masses. You know,
That's true.
I mean, God may give you this. This may be your little group right here. And I think about his players. You know, I mean, I remember the times over here with Coach Scott and with you guys, and we were here from 2000 to 2004, and I remember exactly what you're talking about, and it hurt because I know that was one of our dreams, to be able to go and win it. And those guys gave everything they had. I mean, everybody in there was, you know, and that is a great thing about sports. That's a great thing about athletics, and that's a great thing that it correlates so much to life. Like, listen, we didn't look and say, oh, we can't win it, so we ain't gonna work. We worked as hard as we could to be able to get there, and to have these young men, and I see them now. You know, I mean, even like you, I mean, I kept track of where you was coaching and all that kind of stuff, and you know.
For the record, he was my freshman coach.
coach.
And we won all city.
Yeah, let him know, AD.
The first city championship in 20 years.
Yeah. I know you let him know, but I think seeing guys, and I think it comes with age and maturity, but seeing guys being productive, man. And seeing guys, and you know, if it's coaching, they have kids and all these different kind of things. So it's probably, man, it's probably too many to name. But just in this whole coaching deal, and I knew I always wanted to do it, and Coach Scott for, you know, giving us this opportunity, being over there, like you say, running through the TP and the smoke, and my boy Queen's son with the song.
Yeah,
I said TC.
That's right.
What's up? Boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what's so wild? That was after you had gone.
Oh yeah, I was still
You
connected.
still keeping tabs.
I was still connected, but you know, I mean,
It was a whole experience.
no, just you know, just things like that, and just trying to make a difference and trying to help, man, because it's, you know, it's tough out here, you know, and
It is.
people are going through things, and so just trying to make an impact, make a big difference.
I'd say you have, Coach. I'd say you have. Now, I got a couple more things I want to throw at you before I turn you loose. When you got a bunch of talent on any team, you know, well, before I even go there, the common mind, somebody who hasn't been in this business or in this profession, they might think that your problems go away the more talent you have. You know, now when you've been around the block a time or two, like you have, you know that you're gonna have challenges with a bad team talent-wise, and you're gonna have challenges with a good team talent-wise. Just which monster do you want to deal with? So what I want to ask you is, when you have a bunch of high-level talent, right, and guys with a bunch of notoriety, what does accountability look like, and how hard do you get on them? How much ego managing are we doing?
Well, I think it's a great question. I think any AAU coach or either high school coach now, the whole dynamic is you do more psychology work than you do do coaching.
Right.
I think the difference is identifying who they are. Again, if I can explain to you who you are, I have a better chance of you becoming who you want to become. So in understanding that listen, just because a guy doesn't score the points, I want him to know that he's just as valuable as the guy that's shooting.
And you're not lying to him.
And you're not lying to him. That is true. Anything that when you talk about team or everybody has different gifts and talents. You know? And I think identifying what that is and accepting those gifts and talents. Like I always say, taking a scouting report. You do scouting reports when you play. I say, always take a scouting report of yourself. I'll never forget this story about Bryce. And my wife told me this. So he was probably in the 9th grade or whatever, and there was some young kids that came up and was talking to him. And so he was answering every question. But to me, he wasn't answering the questions the way I wanted him to ask them.
Right.
And so, you know, I get home and and I'm like, you know, I'm telling him, like, listen, you should always have time for people, you know, I know, you know, and he didn't answer them bad. He was answering the question, he was talking. And my wife said to me, he was like, Rod, everybody's not like you. You'll talk to a tree. You'll talk to a wall.
You start a conversation.
You know, you know. Right. But it's identifying what those talents is. So when you talk about players, identify, hey, your role is shooting, your role is rebounding. This is what you do. Don't get out of character, continue to work. But I use this example. You take big guys. And I think this is what happens in a game. Everybody wants, if a guy is 6'4", 6'5", and somebody can say he's a point guard, oh, that's the best thing ever. It's like be a basketball player, whatever it is, be able to do that. But it's just like big guys a lot of time. And I had a big guy one time, and he wanted, I need to shoot jumpers. Well, this ain't the why. You don't get to just shoot jumpers because you're tall. How much have you practiced shooting jumpers?
That's right. Why should I believe in that?
That guy right there, he gets to shoot because guess what? He practiced shooting all the time, and he makes a bunch of them. And I think being able to get people to understand, like, their gifts, their talents, what it is to make this team work, and then trying to expand on that. I think that's the biggest key. The teams that can buy into that are the teams, every successful team that I had, everybody understood who they were. But the part was that every person, every player on that team knew that the other guys were valuable.
There you go.
They knew, I can't get this if he doesn't do that, and vice versa. And having that even, people know who the best players are, but having that even keel, because everybody wants to feel valued. Everybody want to feel like they're a part of something, and that's so good. So I think that when you're talking about players and you have multiple guys who are good, I think identifying that and having the information to support that, and even to a point of using references. I like to say I feel like I'm getting old because I can look at a kid now and be like, yeah, he reminds me of such and such when he was that age. And being able to have that reference to be able to do it, I think makes a big difference. And I think that's a key success to any, especially nowadays, because you can have the talented team, but if everybody's on the same page and you got uncle up here saying you need to do this and auntie saying this, all these different kind of things make a big difference. And to be able to identify that early and understand what they is, but make the person that maybe is not, make them feel valued because you can't do it without them.
Right.
And when you're able to do that, I think that's when you have the most success. And that goes in anything. That goes in business, that goes in a business structure, that goes in every single thing that you do.
Everybody can't do the same thing.
No.
You know what I mean?
I tell you, you ain't got a team with all point guards. If you do, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble, big time. Barbecue chicken alert.
Yeah.
How many, do you run into much resistance with that? Have you had a situation where a kid took a minute not to know what his role is, but to accept it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. You're definitely going to have that.
Definitely.
And I think those are moments when you're able to have success and get them to understand that, because nowadays, everybody feels like they're going to college and they're going to play. And you see it the closer you get to the top. Like you're dealing with high school guys. And a great example is you'll have guys who are unbelievable in 4th, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, not even playing when they get to high school. This kid, he's huge. He don't grow anymore when he gets to high school. Yeah. Oh. And so you start seeing it. But they come in with that because, they beat the All-Stars or whatever by 20 and we won and we on Facebook and we won the national championship and we done that. And all that is great. All that is great. You want to go and compete. You want to go try to win. You want to learn these things. But as you start getting older, it's identifying like, okay, this is where I see you and this is where you are. Now, you just don't become the coach of Central because, you went to Central. You went and you coached at different places. You were assistant at places. You Muskogee, all these different places. And again, you got that experience. And so now you look at things different. This is why I look at you being this way, based on this, and this. You have to give them a why.
That's a fact.
And when you're able to get that why and able to stand on it, now, I'm not saying you don't grow and expand your game, but just don't expect to shoot. How much you in there shooting?
That's
now, how much you making? I think these things are important.
Does it translate?
And I think you see it most, Aaron, you see it at the highest level. You see it at college, but you really see it there's only so many LeBrons.
Yeah.
One.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? There are only so many guys. But other guys have to fulfill that role to be able to, do it. I mean, I think about, and I looked at this when Bryce was at NBA Top 100, and Rondo was his coach. And I watched the way he handled players. Bryce said he was so sharp. And then you see him, won the championship, at Boston. Then you see him at LA. And you see, LeBron wanted him. And you see what he's been able to do, because of that. And I think those things are important, man. And it starts early.
It does.
It's identifying early, and understand it. I always say focusing on the now, but preparing for the next.
Right.
So think about this. You got guys right now. You got dads. You got coaches. They're in elementary school. Okay, where we gonna go to middle school?
Yeah.
Okay, man, I want to get him over there. He want to go play. Then you get to middle school. Hey, man, hey, we're gonna go to high school. Then you get to high school. You want to go to college. Then you get to college. You want to go. You know, and so each step you're working at that area, but you're also preparing for the next because you know, okay, at the next they're gonna be a little bit longer and taller. Okay, they're gonna be a little bit faster. Okay, oh, you get to college. Oh,
A little bit stronger.
oh man, they long. I thought, you know, and I'll say this, and it really, it was a proud moment. When Bill Self said that Bryce was the most prepared freshman he's ever had. Now think about this. He did.
Compliment.
Yes, and I had to say this to me. I said, now he didn't say he was the best freshman he ever had.
Got you.
He said he was the most prepared freshman he ever had. So going in there, knowing what to expect, understanding the level, understanding what you have to do under that is because for every level is different. Guys are longer. You know, when I train guys, you know, I work in tight spaces because where you want to get to, the court gets smaller because guys get longer.
Oh, that's right.
They get faster. They can get to that spot. And so angles are important. And so I think that's the biggest deal. You know, focusing on the now, but preparing for the next is so important. And young players are able to do that and understand that it makes a big difference.
Would you say you were able to keep it fun even as the levels went up? Because you know how it is when they're young, elementary age, they run through a wall for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In middle school, same thing, but it's more and more intentional now because now you start to develop. You start to see who's developing, where the talent is starting. The cream is starting to rise to the top.
Yeah.
Then it's high school, and then the further they go up, the more it turns into business. And I always wonder, okay, can you find that balance of keeping it fun but understanding it is a grind at the same time?
I think I feel like a lot of kids don't have fun. Think about how many kids feel. I'll give you this example, and I say this all the time, and this is another nugget I'm gonna give.
All right,
I tell every kid, if you go back and you look at, and I'll just use Bryce.
For sure.
Every picture Bryce is in, he's smiling.
That's
Go
true.
back and look. Now he's been coached up because naming automatically for the person to know, it draws them in. All right, but it's genuine now. But we have a culture now that if you look at everybody's picture,
Mug.
like
Ain't nothing sweet. You know what I mean?
you mugging ain't gonna get you no more buckets.
That's a fact.
You frowning up, you know,
Rounding up and getting cooked.
and getting cooked. Okay, and I think those things are important. But I think it does go back. And I tell parents all the time, they should be having the time of their life.
Really?
Now, it's work and put the time in, but you know, kids play on Saturday. They should be waking up Saturday, you know, going, and it should be the greatest time. But I tell kids all the time, I don't want you in there if you ain't gonna smile, man. I don't want to be around you if you got to be so mad and you don't want to be here. Like, no, we gonna have fun. God has blessed you. You know how many kids would just love to play? How many kids don't get to play? How many kids are in wheelchairs or have ailments where they can't play? You should be having the time of your life.
Because you winning.
And I think that is the difference. And I tell you as a guy that trained kids, the biggest question when I have people call me and ask me about training, they could have some kids who can't play dead, right? And it's almost like, well, man, do you know somebody else that you can get? Because I know. And it's like, I get some of the biggest enjoyment of coaching kids or training kids where there aren't any expectations. I mean, they jump over the moon if they make a basket.
That's right.
Because I feel like that's lost so much. You know, you want to be able to have fun and be able to have, you know, I remember working with one kid, and he was horrible. He was bad. But you know what? He was having the time of his life.
That's right.
And he got better, and he could make a layup, and he was still having fun. And you know what? He got better at a faster rate because he was having fun, because he enjoyed it. And I always say, it's so important. And just with Bryce, I've always tried to make it fun. I've always tried to go. And I think that's where his work ethic really kicked in because it was enjoyable.
He said, I don't want to let this go.
I love this. I love to get in here and be able to play. I mean, just like now. Think about now, Aaron, and I don't know if you still play, but think about this. When you get out and you play, and that feeling you get when you catch that ball and you get ready to shoot or just run, and you don't even have to be the great player, just the joy that it brings. I went and watched scrimmage yesterday, and this kid played, and they asked, I said, you played the whole game and you act like you wasn't enjoyed it all.
Was somebody forcing you to be out
You
there?
was frowned up and you know, no face, like that don't make you a good player. It don't. I mean, like.
That's a great point, because sometimes I'm like, man, I don't even know why am I still getting this joy running up and down this floor in this empty gym. Ain't nobody watching.
Hey, and the smell of that old gym, just you know.
Yeah, and then the dialogue in the game. I'm like, man, for some reason it ain't out of me yet.
Yes.
So
and they'll never leave.
I'm gonna try to push it to the max.
No doubt.
Here's how we'll wrap it up, Coach. I got a multi-layered question for you, and this is the way we end pretty much all of our podcasts with. I'm not going to even limit you by saying coach, competitors.
Okay.
If you can dig back into the archives of your career, at every level that you played, an opponent that beat y'all that shouldn't have beat you, and you still feel to this day that your team was the better team, but for whatever reason they got you. If you could run it back with that particular opponent at the high school level and at the college level, who would it be?
High school, you know, we ain't lose too much in high school.
Fair enough.
I was just saying. Probably, let me think about high school.
The three-time state champ. Ooh, that's tough.
That's tough, man. Hey, I think I had 7 losses in my career in high school.
See, that's major.
Probably one loss we had on paper that we were supposed to win, and it was a rivalry game, which is Preston. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Beggs Preston, a big rivalry game. And Kevin John, I mean, they had lost some good players. They had lost Sean Alexander, who was a player of the year, went to OU. So it would have been my sophomore year, and they beat us. And on paper, they really wasn't supposed to beat us, but it was a rivalry game. But you know, they were, you know, well coached. I mean, they played. We were well coached too, but they just came out and played, and we kind of, you know,
went in there sleepwalking a little bit.
Yeah, went in there sleepwalking a little bit, and ended up getting beat. College level. Man, now that's a good one. College level would probably be, I know who it was. We went and played Kentucky my senior year. We went and played Kentucky. So on the road trip, we played Kentucky, and then we played Cleveland State. So we played Kentucky. That was the year Kentucky won the national championship. Mm-hmm. Little history here. You know, Tulsa is one of the only schools to have 3 guys that won the national championship that coached there. You know who they are?
Ooh.
You know who they are?
Run them at me.
Bill Self.
That I knew.
Nolan Richardson.
That I knew. Who's the third one?
Tubby Smith.
I wasn't sure if Tubby had won there or not.
One in Kentucky.
God dog it. See, I couldn't let myself be
Self
wrong.
at Kansas, Tubby at Kentucky, and Nolan at Arkansas. All coached at Tulsa. But a lot of history there. But
coming from good family.
But I say that the game that we lost. So we go to Kentucky, and boy, at the half we may be tied and we may be up. Mm-hmm. You know, so we like, man, we finna pop them up here and rub. You know, They came out the second half and killed us. All right. So on that road trip, we go and we play Cleveland State, and we definitely were supposed to win that game. But kind of had a layover from the Kentucky game, was flat, ended up getting beat. I mean, that was a tough one. Another tough one was Gonzaga, whose Kansas is going to play
next week or Thanksgiving.
Who they're going to play, number 1 team in the country.
And you going to get to go watch it too, right?
I'm going. I'm there. But the Gonzaga, before it was quote unquote Gonzaga, we played them in the Top of the World Classic in Alaska. The first game, and we didn't even know where Gonzaga was. I mean, Gonzaga was trying to be Tulsa at the time, you know, because Tulsa was smaller school. All that kind of stuff. You know, we didn't know who they were. And and we came out, man, they ran the flex offense, flex us. Coach Monson was the coach there. They had some great players. And we set a record that night. You know, I'm not ashamed. The highs and the lows. We set a record that night as we have a record at Tulsa as the team who scored the least amount of points in a half. I think we had like 12-13. The score was like 36-13.
That's a first quarter score in high school.
Yeah.
So on the wrong side of history, huh?
So that team, I mean, and they were good, and they got rolling, and they never looked back. But I think that's a couple of the teams that I can think of playing that man, we should have been able to win those games, but didn't get to do it.
Highs and lows, man.
Highs and lows. You got to take them.
Yes, yes.
Bitter with the sweet.
Let me tell you something, man. This has been awesome, man. I don't even use that word. You know what I mean? You're full of all the gems.
Yeah.
Continued success to you, my man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being accessible to me after all these years. And, you know, best of luck to your son. I know he's going to do great things, and I know you hear that all the time, but I mean that, man.
And let me say this, AD. I'm really proud of you, man, and what you've been able to do. And I knew that you were going to do something to impact people, man, and just, you know, you continue to work and push yourself. And I do think you're a great example of being a player that may not have been the most talented, but was gonna, I always say the towel effect, squeeze out as much as you could out of all of your ability, and I think it's got you where you are now. And man, I'm honored to drop these gems on you and be here, man. And I was excited when you asked me to do it, and I appreciate it. And I'm expecting big things, even more, man.
Yes, sir. Rich history from Thompson.
You know it,
Let's
brother.
sanitize the joint.
Sanitize.
And we
gotta
outta
do it.
here.
We out.